I think one of the funniest conspiracy theories that we are hearing right now, and I wouldn't even call it a conspiracy theory, one of the greatest lies is that Donald Trump loves Black people and has done more for Black people than any other president. I want to start with this clip because I think that we've heard it all. We've heard all the absurdities. We've heard all the ridiculousness, all of the things. But I don't know why this hit me, but it hit me in a way that was different when he said, when they asked him about Black Lives Matter.
We're going to continue on the issue of race. Mr. President, you've described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared a video of a man chanting white power to millions of your supporters. You've said that Black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans who are concerned by that rhetoric?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of Black colleges and universities. I don't know what to say. They can say anything. They can say anything. It makes me sad because I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark. But I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Okay. Vice President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. He started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican rapists. He's banned Muslims because they're Muslims.
So I saw you chuckle, and we all laugh because we live in a world where we actually know the stories of the people that are not being told in mainstream media. And we get an opportunity to visit with worlds that some people would not ever dare to share. So whether you are a white man, John, a Mexican woman, Julissa, me being a Puerto Rican woman, we've all witnessed some of the toxic comments and actions that this administration has employed towards people of color and Black people. So I want to go to you both, and before we get into these propositions, because I want to make sure that we tackle some of these for the people today, I really want to know what you think about this, because there are some people who are actually rolling with this rhetoric.
Sure. Yeah. Look, obviously it was an insane, deranged thing to say. As you pointed out, we could go through any number of different things that the Trump administration has done that have been inherently, explicitly racist, designed from the ground up, from their inception, to be cruel towards non-white individuals, whether domestically, migrants, all of that. The way that he talks about these groups from his first day on the campaign trail back in the 2016 election was inherently designed to appeal to racists. And he was still, even in the videos you're showing, continuing to try to convince people to despise and fear and question and be suspicious of Black Americans with his nonsense about that chant that he once heard 3 years ago from one state chapter of BLM. That's his answer, by the way, anytime he's asked about BLM, that exact same anecdote. And he's flabbergasted about why some Black individuals still don't support him. I have a radical idea for how we could find out. He could actually speak to them. He could ask them. He could try to pay attention to why we've had these nationwide protests month after month after month after month. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's something that they actually want that the president of the United States can give to them, but he clearly has no interest in actually finding out what that is.
Yeah. I think when you start from having to say, I'm the least racist person ever, someone who isn't racist never, ever has to say that line, ever. first of all. Secondly, Donald Trump, you have to look at his record, not just in the last 3 years that he's been in the presidency, which have been disastrous for Black Americans and for people of color. But you also have to see the things that he did before that, right? I mean, he was the person who took out an entire page ad in the New York Times calling for the death penalty for 5 teenagers, Black and Latino teenagers, with the Central Park 5, which of course we know they were exonerated, but he was calling for the death penalty for them. He has been sued time and time again for housing discrimination in his real estate business. And so this dislike of Donald Trump and his racism hasn't just been the last 4 years. It has been his entire life. And so he is a racist person. His policies are racist, and not just like John was saying, domestically, right, with what's happening with Black Americans in the United States, but it wasn't that long ago that he called Haiti and Nigeria and other African countries, quote, shithole countries. And so his racism for Black people isn't just Black people who live in America, it's for Black people around the world.
Yeah. I think that, and so the problem is right now is the scapegoating that Democrats have been no better, because Democrats also have a history of racism. But I don't think that the problem is when we talk about the Democrats versus the Republicans, I don't think the Democrats are appealing to the KKK and these hate groups who are, loading up, trying to fucking kidnap governors and do, and nobody is saying that, I see a comment, Ty Rivera, comedian, that the media was against the Central Park 5. Yes, of course, nobody is saying that the media here is any better, but what we're discussing is that Donald Trump has used a lot of rhetoric, and a lot of people who idolize Donald Trump because he has these, a lot of machistas, self-hating minorities. Those of us who know people who know him know that he does not associate with people who he sees to be beneath him. And he's an elitist, and his group is made up of white, rich people who look and sound just like him. So this whole idea that he is not racist is malarkey. And that doesn't mean that what I'm saying is that I don't think Joe Biden has employed racist policies towards Black Americans in this country. But we need to stop scapegoating and stop saying, but the Democrats, when the Donald Trump is the current president of the United States, and conditions have not gotten better for people of color, Black people in this country, unless they're rich. So I wanted,
and also, can I just say, like, what is the point of saying that? Like, what is the point of saying the media was also against Central Park 5? Like, what is the point of that? Because yes, that was true, but that's not what we're talking about. And that's actually something Donald Trump does a lot, and did it again in the debate last night, where it's like you ask him a question about something and about his own record, and then he brings up some other things that have nothing to do with the topic. And so I just want to be like, because when I see comments like that, I get really annoyed, because I just think, okay, so what? What is the point of that? Like, is there another sentence that is coming after that? Because otherwise it's just, you're just trying to have a hot take and say something else that someone isn't saying. But what we're talking about here is not the media. We do that a lot in other forums. And Aida, you do that a lot as well. We're not talking about that. Right now, we're talking about Donald Trump and his record of being a racist, not only in the last 4 years of him being president, but his entire life. And that record shows that he is a racist, particularly against Black Americans, and particularly against immigrants.
Yeah, people will say, well, that was the time, and that what was happening in the time. And that's not a good reason. And I disagree with that. And when people pull up, if you're going to say that, then you have to say, then don't bring up Joe's crime bill, because America and his institutions have been racist towards Black people and people of color for generations. So You cannot tell me that If that's the case, if that's your argument, then don't bring up the crime bill. Because if you bring up the crime bill, you got to bring up slavery, you got to bring up Jim Crow. You know, it's just like we can't have it both ways. And I am not in any way, John and I, you know, we cringe when we have to support the people that we have to support, right? Because we are really making a choice between two evils. But to say that Donald Trump is a good politician and has been good for the country and been knowledgeable and informed as a president is the bullshit that I'm talking about. That whether you like Joe Biden or Kamala or any Bernie or any, Donald Trump doesn't belong in that circle because he is not a politician. He is he had people taking his test in schools allegedly. He didn't want to go to serve in the military. So that is the problem, is like everybody, I'm sure there are a bunch of people, there's probably a golfer who can be as dynamic as Donald Trump. He does not belong in public office. And we have to get back to being honest about the fact that he has no business in any administration. He belongs with wealthy people messing up businesses and experimenting with his wealth because he can afford to do that. But what he cannot afford to do is play with the American people because they are suffering.